edition. 420 Smoke Fest. Sunday, April 20th at Reggie's. 2105 South State Street in Chicago. Starring Do or Die. In Crucial Conflict. Also performing live, Mr. Misfit, Sweet Juices, Army of Two, Right Taco, D-NIK, Boom Man Forever, the KRA, Ray Caesar, and Stone Flacco. Come get lit with the superstars Do or Die Crucial Conflict. Sunday, April 20th at Reggie's in Chicago.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Trust Tree. I am your trustee, D-NIK. Before we get started, I want to add to that disclaimer. I'm not portraying a therapist. I'm not pretending to be one. I don't want to be yours. I'm just healing in real life, and I'm inviting you along for the journey. Also, please respect the opinions and testimonies and individual journeys of people who trust us with their stories on this show. So, and I don't know if I mentioned, maybe might have a little bit of cursing. You know, you tell your story however you tell it. So it might be a little colorful the way you express it. So please respect all of the above and participate at your own will. Okay. If you're in Chicago, wasn't today wonderful? I'm just being honest. I'm over cold weather. I don't want it anymore. I can't take it. A lot of people suffer from seasonal depression. And for a lot of people, like this time right now, they're like popping out of it. They're coming back to life. They're getting back to them. So, yes, bring on the spring because I literally can't take it anymore. Today, we have a very special guest. Um, he is an MC. I don't really want to give away too much because I really like when people introduce themselves in their own words, but we'll just talk about some of his attributes. So again, he's an MC, a founding member of one of Chicago's beloved hip hop groups. He's a counselor, a friend to many, and an all around like just decent, genuine person. So if we can bring on today's guest so he can introduce himself. Hello.
Hey, peace and infinite blessings. This is D-NIK, the microphone misfit from the Microphone Misfits crew.
Yes. Appreciate you stopping by today or popping in, I guess, because technically you're literally not here. It's been a minute since I talked to you. How have you been?
I'm blessed, blessed and stressed. You know how that go, but that's because of the progression. Things, just life is changing, and is a constant change, and there's having a lot of personal philosophical questions with myself, and also like my bandmates. Shout out to the fit.
Yeah. With the changing climate, things going on the political front and just how the world is moving now, would you say that on the counselor side of things, you've seen an influx of people?
Well, for me, I work specifically with young men, so like for them, it would be like a trickle down effect of what I see from the political climate changing. I experienced that honestly less from like the client and more from the adults.
Mm.
And even my organization that I work for, like we go through it. Everybody's freaking out because of the tariffs and budget cuts, and like my company, last year we experienced a massive layoff of like I want to say 70% in the Chicago area. Like counselors got laid off. It's a lot. There's a lot of people. You know what I'm saying, and that means that us get overloaded and overworked. At the same time as going through that, I was having a little, like a little like bundle of joy was expected. So we have the threat of, layoffs in one ear, and then they got this kid that's about to make her debut in the world. So that's scary. And then simultaneously, like the microphone misfits are like bigger than we've ever been, more popular. We had just got signed, Neon Entertainment, and been, so being pulled a bunch of different ways for me. So that was a hectic. It was a hectic time. Still a hectic
Well,
time.
so it's that's kind of a, because there are some negative things, but then, also lots of positive things. Congratulations on the signing and the bundle of joy. Um,
Thank you.
but life definitely is lifing, like for sure, like lately. Um, it's just like even in like conversations that I'm having with just, friends and family and things of that nature, I feel like there's something different every week. And are very like borderline pessimistic, but just very like, oh man, what if, or like worst case scenario. Like it's just a lot of people are just struggling with a positive outlook.
Froze. Are we still good? We still up and running?
Oh, we're frozen? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You're good.
Okay. No, I was just saying that, a lot of people are struggling, to have a positive outlook on things. So yeah, I think it's
And even
definitely.
with the positive,
Go ahead.
even with the positive stuff, are you prepared for the positivity?
Mm,
Are you prepared? Like I was I was talking to my therapist about that. And a OG, a Shyrock OG, who basically said the same. The Shyrock OG actually gave me a lot more like poignant game about like the things that I'm experiencing and feeling and all of this type of shit. And he said something really, really interesting, and he has a love-hate relationship with hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna quote the brother, and he's the original Shyrock too. Um, so OG was like, he was like, look, man, you coming from a different place than the rest of these hip hop motherfuckers is coming from. Most of these motherfuckers is bum ass motherfuckers or burnout motherfuckers. You coming from a situation of being educated, and you have a like stable job, but you're a touring artist and you got to figure out how to make that work. It's easy to be a touring artist when you a dropout bum ass nigga or burnout motherfucker, you know. But you're not a bum ass nigga. You're not a dropout. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you're not a bum. You're not a dropout. And you're not a burnout. So you are not coming from it from a place that everybody else be coming from it. And I was like, damn.
yeah. Like even the different things that you're experiencing and you're struggling with, there are a massive amount of your peers that can't relate because balancing work life and even adding in your tour life. So you have a gig 9 to 5, you know what I'm saying? You got your actual personal life, but then also misfits territory. So it's like like if you have absolutely nothing and somebody says, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna bring you on with me to this 20 city tour." Cool, I'm gone. I don't got no loose ends to tie up. Thank God I
Yeah,
got
I'm not a
something to do.
burnout and I'm not a dropout and I'm not a bum.
Right. But like, for those that are, it's like
Partially
thank God
speaking,
I'm about
yeah.
to eat. Somebody I'm gonna have some food and whatnot, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But in your
Exactly.
case, it's like I gotta literally prepare my life to be able to do me.
Man, a lot of my friends that are like our colleagues, I was, because it's touring season. Like it's right now is spring. There's spring is touring. Spring and fall are big touring seasons. Um, Summer is festival season, so you can tour in the festival circuit too. But most people are trying to get these tours out before and then after festival season. Now, if you're trying to, now there's the bigger acts that are going from, they kind of transition into it. Like if you're, okay, we're going to start in like end of March, we're going to tour all spring and then run in the
Uh-oh.
for the summer. Oh, are we good?
Now we are, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so they start from spring, they go through the summer. They can, if you have a plug in the festival circuit, you can go there, and then soon as festival season is like over, then there's fall touring season, and then you're good, and you get to break for the winter, unless you're going somewhere where winter isn't a thing. You know what I'm saying? But like that's the thing. But like, you know, you ask your people who would who would be able to go for 2 months. Me and the Fitz were talking about it, like, man, like you guys want to do a long run, and Mel was like, well, if we doing the long run, if we doing 2 months, then we might as well plan for the year. I was like, dang, be on the road for a year? It's like, yeah, man, because we ain't coming back to work after that.
That makes sense.
So we would have to plan for, you know, and we got, we're at that point where we need to like have these talks, and you don't got to be rich and famous to be consecutive touring artist. But the reality is, if you ain't on the road, you're not gonna make an income. But then
Yeah.
there's wear and tear on your family. Your family gotta suffer. Your loved ones gotta suffer. Your health may suffer, you know. Then we ain't no youngins. We got to think about 401k, and we got to think about, you know what I'm saying? Like all of this social security eventually, and all of this type of stuff, and our benefits. But then you're just, you got to juxtapose that with your dreams and the dreams that you've been fighting for. You work really hard for this shit. And then it's just like, ooh. And it's not a complaint, because that's some first world problem bullshit to be complaining about it. It's not a complaint, but it is like on some, damn, do I am I taking up space? Am I, what should I, not, and then for me, I'm a counselor, so them kids really feel it when we be on the road.
So how does that work? Like you're you're like taking a lead kind of sorta, and then like one of your colleagues takes your cases temporarily, or do you maintain them remotely?
Um, I can, I, it depends on the timing and, well, for right now, no, I haven't had no colleagues taking that over. I've just been, we've been zigzagging. Like instead of going consecutively, we just zigzag. We'll be like, okay, we're in Louisiana, and then we're back, and then we're in Iowa, and then we're back, and then we're here, and then we're back, and we're in Maryland, then we're back, and da. So we've been zigzagging, but that shit is exhausting. Like,
Yeah.
you
If
know,
if by chance you guys do agree to go ahead and go on a tour for a year. Do you feel like right now you're mentally prepared for that?
I can't speak for my brothers, because we're all in totally different. Because not every microphone misfit like has a 9 to 5. Like Ray Light and Solo like work for themselves. Um, like Solo is a full-time artist. Ray is a massage therapist. But with that though, that's like another business. And then there we all have other things and other obligations. Like, there's who was it talking about? I think it was Open Mike Eagle was talking about like this is why groups don't like last. That why there ain't no groups in hip hop no more. Because everybody's everybody's selfish. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's ready to, this is why Little Brother's breaking up. You know what I'm saying? Again for the umpteenth time. You know what I'm saying? you know. But life is hard to figure that out. And then, half of the people like my I ain't gonna say his name, but like my OG says, like, man, most of these motherfuckers is burnouts, dropouts, and bums. So they don't wanna like a day job. That's scary. You know what I'm saying? Like if you run down the list of like full-time artists, most of them are those three. They're burnouts, dropouts, or bums.
That's true. That's true. Then also too, like I never thought about I never thought about it from that perspective of a person that you see being an artist. So let's say somebody you always go you go to their shows or whatever. I never thought about what their life was like in the daytime when they're not behind the microphone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to do like we're selling you the fantasy. Like you're not supposed to see. There's a few of us that like you can see their civilian life and it correlates. Like if you work in hip hop education, then that'll be used like, oh, you're not see as a burnout, a dropout, or bum. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you're working here. And when I used to work for Columbia College, like they used to give us leave of absences, like especially that was around the time when the hip hop studies minor just got like implemented. So it made them look good that like, damn, we got 3 microphone misfits. Like, oh, sure, you can go to China. Or you can go here. You can go there. Here's a leave of absence. They was giving out leave of absences like they were school free lunch. But if you a counselor, it's like, oh, that's nice. You like the rap good, but these kids need help, motherfucker. What you gonna
Right.
do? And then and then, not to mention your family. Your family is like, it's like, man, we want you here. We need you here. Da 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 da. I want you be, all of that type of stuff, man. It's a big sacrifice.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say
And it makes you stressed.
would you say that when you first started out with the Misfits that you thought when you guys got to this level that it would feel the way it does, that you would have to consider all this extra stuff?
Nah, because didn't have these stresses at the time. Like I was finishing college, and some had dropped out of college, and following the trajectory of being an artist. Some of us were finishing, some of us were dropping out, and some of us were never going, you know. So so we didn't have that we didn't have families or any of that type of stuff. So we were just creating from a purely and naive space and just learning how to properly do this professionally, and and just learning that is all, what that's all like, and then contextualizing everything. And that's, the more you do, the more you learn, the more you know. And then that gets depressing too, because you'd be like, this is what, this stinks. So I'm always joking, like, man, hip hop stinks. Oh my God. You're terrible. Oh, you're an artist. Oh man, you're a terrible human being. Oh my God, you're like 2 notches above a pedophile. You suck. You're an artist. Artists are terrible people. You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, am I one of those terrible people? God, I am one of those terrible people. Ah, ah, ah.
But how do you kind of avoid that type of person? You know what I mean? Like, you will come across a lot of people in that area of your professional life where it's like, yeah, no, I don't want none of that on me. But you may have to work with this person in one way or another.
I mean, like, how do you avoid that?
Avoid it, or like work with them without working with them, if that makes sense.
Um, if you work with them, you keep it professional and you hope for the best. And like I got nothing on that, NASHVINO. Because I'm, and then you accept. Like, if I'm working with and I don't really. That's why we don't really work with a lot of people outside of our small like group, and we don't really work with people outside of like family. We do rarely, but if we do, we just treat that as a blessing, and we just keep tunnel vision, like just keep tunnel vision, and be respectful, and just be the change we wish to see, and yeah, and just accept it. It's like one of the things you learn as a counselor, it's not always about trying to correct things, because that's arrogance. It's about learning to live with things, and that's and how you navigate and live with these things. I'm never going to be able to shake the demons that are inside of me. I have to learn to live with them and not project them. I can't, like, I'm not going to be able to. My hope is to not pass on any of my burdens, any of my demons to my daughter. She's gonna have her own demons that I'm not gonna be able to do anything about. I just gotta be able to coach her through. I'll protect her on some physical stuff if I can, you know what I'm saying? But I have to just give her as many tools to fight those demons as I can.
Yeah.
Even if I inflict.
Yeah. I recently read something where they were talking about parenting from a realistic standpoint, and how, when your kids are babies, they're your whole, you're the center of their universe, and they are yours as well. And then, everything they get from you, right? And in a way, you get a lot of stuff from them as well, because you're pouring into them, and it's giving you a sense of purpose and all that kind of stuff. But then as they grow up, they come into their own. Like you said, they start to become, in that personality, whatever type of person they're going to be. And then eventually they'll grow up, and either they'll be just what you always wanted them to be, or not. But the philosophy that we don't own our children, right? They don't belong to us. They aren't ours. Have you given any thought to that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm, you know, I'm I'm her protector. You know, like absolutely. For now, and well, I'm always be, and then hell, she might be mine. I can almost guarantee she's gonna probably be be mine. You know, so yeah,
Okay.
I given a lot of thought to that, you know, especially having a little girl, you know, a little
Yeah.
girl that's a junior, you know, she's a junior. She's named after me. So you
I
know,
think that's dope.
everybody call her
I like that.
She-Nick now. Like
That's crazy.
yeah,
I mean, that's dope. That's dope. But I, this is this your first child?
biological, yes. First
So
biological.
so okay, yeah. So I had stepchildren before I had my first biological child. So like when she came into the fold, did you did you feel any difference? Like for me, it kind of felt like so I've got these other kids that are they're bonus babies, basically. They're
Mhm.
mine, but
Right,
technically not. But this one
right.
is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I had that. I mean, luckily I didn't want it to feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like when the other two was growing up. And then like on top of everything, I was hectic with that in itself. And I felt like I was stronger with them because I was taken in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I knew how to take in others. It's like, okay, this is you don't know how to establish your boundaries, but I'm gonna empower you to establish your boundaries. You know, because I gotta establish my boundaries with y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just we gotta we got, and then you have to check your ego because with them, you know, that's conditional love versus with this one is
Mm-hmm.
unconditional love. And
That's exactly.
that's
You just put into words what the question that I was trying to ask. I didn't have the words. Absolutely. Yes.
like because if I was an asshole, they wouldn't love me.
Mm-hmm.
If you understand, you know, if they were assholes, I wouldn't have developed the love that I have for them. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, but this little girl, whether she an asshole or not, I'm gonna love her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whether I'm a dickhead, she gonna love me. You know, so it is what it is with that, and that's the difference between conditional and unconditional love and all of this type of stuff. That's why people have such a weird relationship with their parents if it was a bad relationship, because it's like you still love this person, but this person was like might have been an asshole, or you might have been an asshole to them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like it's it's those things.
What do you think? And coming from a counseling standpoint, what role do you think perspective plays into peace?
Um, I think it like to understand other people's perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I don't think perspective. I think it's just understanding plays a big part, more so
Okay.
than perspective. It's understanding. It's like the highest form of love is just understanding, and because because if you understand, you ain't gotta respect it, but you just don't disrespect it.
Yeah.
you know where it's coming from, then you know, like even like offensively speaking, like 'cause some people will be offended if you say, you know, drop out, burn out, or bomb, but you know, like just using that harsh vulgarities to like bring home the point. Where it's just like, you know, when you look at it, it's, like, it's basically you're talking about people that ain't got nothing to lose, and so they, you know, they'll take risks that you didn't think of, and it's because they had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
If I, you know, like if I'm a burnout, like I'm working a dead end job and something that isn't important, like to me or to the greater community, you know, then yeah, I'm a burnout. So man, why not do something for my dreams? You know what I'm saying? If I'm a dropout, I'm I'm dropped out. I don't know what I've just cut off most of my other side of potential. So I gotta lock into this. You know what I'm saying? And if I'm like you know, homeless or a bum, that for lack of a better term, if I'm that, then it's like psh, I'm all in. I can, you know, I can just go for it. I can, you know, because I got absolutely nothing to lose. I'm the freest person to be an artist ever. You can exploit me. You can put me in a pink dress if I'm heterosexual, not a cross. I can do whatever because I ain't I ain't like I ain't nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like those are things, and it's a understanding that as a context, understanding like, oh well, this person like said no to this, why you say no to this? Oh man, this person was like, I want to take care of my family. Like, wait, what's my man from Honey I Shrunk the Kids, Rick Moranis? It's like, man, you just left Hollywood and left, you was a big movie star and you just left everything. Well, you know, his wife was sick and he wanted to take care of his kids and his sick wife. So he left it all alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's different. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
It's totally different.
And I'm assume well, he prioritized his family over his fame
Hmm.
and wealth and such. And I mean I would guess that's what he needed to do for his mental health at the time, because there are lots of people who have family members that are terminally ill and things of that nature, and they keep working, keep grinding. You know what I'm saying? Number one, to make sure they got money to take care of whatever that person needs, but also two, probably to keep the focus on something else. So I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah.
we're all in different places, but I think that example of the burnout bum type situation is kind of a great way to describe life now. It's like either you just flying by the seat of your pants, waiting for the next opportunity, or you got all kinds of things stacked up that you got to figure out a way to navigate and sort through. This is the world we're living in now. So if we could take it back
Hmm.
to when you were at Columbia, what were you going to Columbia for? What was your
I didn't go.
area
I
of
didn't go
focus?
there. I was
You
working
were
there. I
working
didn't
there.
go. Yeah.
Okay. When you
Yeah.
started working there, what was your job title? What were you doing?
Oh wow, man. So okay, I went to school for theater. I was, I didn't know I was gonna be an MC. I just loved hip hop. But since I was 14, I knew I wanted to be on the road. I knew I was gonna be an artist. I used to drink the hip hop Kool-Aid a lot when I was a kid, so I didn't even think that was touchable. So like freestyling was just a thing for me that I just like to do. But I was an actor and a writer and a director, you know. So when I was working for Free Street Theater back when Free Street Theater is still around today. Free Street Theater is just totally different. Like their whole pedagogy is different. But I was a part of not the original, but like the shoot, probably like the third generation of Free Street theater here in Chicago. And so anyway, there was a program that there was a partnership with Free Street and Columbia where it was like it was called Act Right. It was basically you would partner with the fiction writing department and you would do that. And it was using theater techniques and writing techniques, and you would just work with the fiction writing department. And this is how these cats would get their masters. They had to go through that to get their masters in fiction writing. Nobody at Free Street liked doing the Act Right program, but it was the highest paid program in Free Street. And I was like, man, y'all crazy. I'm finna do this. Like, because it wasn't as artistically freeing for like the playwrights. But I didn't give a fuck. I was like, man, this shit pays the most, more than any of these other programs that we doing and directing and all of that stuff. So it was like I was there. So I was the arts lit guy at Free Street. So I would just totally do that. And I was known in the like in Columbia doing that. And also because Columbia is like where people in Chicago like sell like their hip hop stuff, and like Columbia like gets a hold of like Chicago hip hop stuff. So, and I knew about Columbia like even when I was in college. I went to DePaul University. I didn't go to Columbia, but I was, I lived right there next to Columbia. I actually lived with Columbia people in the UCC the first year the UCC was open. So I, people would think I went to Columbia, but no, I went to DePaul. And when Free Street was revamping and it was time for me to make my exit, Columbia, like I had such a good rapport for the years of working in the Act Right department. They just, the liaison was just like, what do you want to do? You can do whatever you want to do. And I had grown disinterested in hip hop. I mean, in theater, and hip hop was bubbling for me. So I was like, I want to do a hip hop program, and they just let me do it. So I was in the community schools department at Columbia.
Now, at this point, were you messing with the Misfits at all?
Yeah, we have been doing the thing since 2003.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get these amazing opportunities, and then you create this this hip hop program. What's that look like?
Oh man, that was probably the funnest work experience I ever had in my life. And that is why I fell in love with the West Side, and I stayed because first I was living in Pilsen, with a lot of people that, didn't really look like me. You know what I'm saying? But it was cool. Pilsen was an artist hub. You know what I'm saying? It's predominantly Mexican, but it was also the center of the city. Like you could get equal time to get to the Wild Hunters as it is the Evanston. Like Pilsen is the center of the city. It's not South Side, it's not West Side, it's not the East Side, it's not the North Side. It's the center of Chicago. So it was like that was kind of cool. And there was a big Latino Rasta community when I was living out there, and the Misfits was all living there. We all lived together, and DJ Mar, that's what we ran into, Heat, Marlon would be like, pally, let's do George. And, he come in here and all this type of stuff, So, but like, I love Mar because, Marlon who's original microphone misfit with us, like, and, he's like, this dude George just brought this little beat machine. See, I don't want to watch. I want to do my 2 inches and stuff like that. So we were all a family, man, and we all lived together and lived around each other. But with Columbia, like I really got to lock in with these kids, and just excel with them. And there was no B-boy, B-girl program on the West Side. There was nothing on the West Side that was helping kids break or do graffiti, or you'll see some like writing and rhyme and poetry stuff, like the Hood Raised people or Phenom would be doing stuff around there. But in terms of all elements, there wasn't anything like that. And so Columbia allowed me to do a Pillars of Hip Hop program. And man, we serviced a lot of kids on the West Side, and when it wasn't fashionable too, so it was really in North Lawndale specifically. So it was really, really cool. And those kids is doing dope things now. Like J Ruff and J Smooth, like they got track scholarships at University of Michigan, you know, like Jay Rockin, he's Chicago's youngest beekeeper, and he's got a full ride at SIU, that's dope. Baby Roro is like doing stuff with Theater Y. She's still in high school, but she's doing a lot of stuff with Theater Y. She's straight A student. Probably the biggest from that is DJ Dolo. He's on WGCI. That's a Misfit affiliate that's on WGCI. Got his own little thing. So like we used to call them Alpha Squad because kids come first.
Okay. What would you say was the biggest lesson that you learned from that experience?
Man, they taught me a lot about like marketing. They taught me about marketing, and I taught them about, it was a reciprocal. Like they taught me as much as I taught them. Like I remember, when Curtis Blow came to the West Side, and it was at the Firehouse Block Party, and it was people that was performing was Phenom, it was Microphone Misfits, I think Pivot Gang. I'm not sure if Pivot Gang. I'm not sure. I know they've done in recent years, but I'm not sure if they were rocking there that time when Curtis Blow. But I definitely know Phenom was there, and we were, of course, there. But like, so all of these kids that I service, they're in the neighborhood, they're in North London, so they're all out there, and then when Curtis Blow gets on stage and he's performing, Ange was rocking too. Ange rocked that thing too. I remember Ange rocking. So when Curtis Blow gets there and rock, you would think Curtis Blow was like the era he was popping in. You would think it wasn't conducive to these kids, but it was like they were like, okay, this is dope. They were feeling it. And then when he did basketball, when he performed basketball, they knew it from the video game. And they're like, yo, that's the dude, because they were playing 2K or Live 90 or the NBA Live or whatever game that this song was on when you turned on the game. So they were into it because he's Curtis Blow, he's talented. And they were, their parents was into it or their grandparents was into it. But then when he did basketball, they were like blown away, and they were like, yo, that's the video game. And then this is in the summer. That next fall, when when I would give them free time from the Pillars of Hip Hop program, these kids were like requesting, it's like, yo, D-NIK, man, can you and Ray put on basketball? Put on basketball by Curtis Blow. And they knew the words. These was kids. And they knew the words, and it's just like, oh, okay. This is why performance is important. Because you got to get out there and see these people. We don't have the marketing budget. Curtis Blow is long past his marketing budget to where it would be, like propagated to youngsters, unless they church. But him coming out on the west side and performing and them having the connection like that, they watched him rock, they were feeling it, they were feeling the breaks, and they were already like kids that are like in the know because they know, they're trained with us and all of that type of stuff. So they were really like, what the fuck? This is dope. And then, it taught me something about like, oh, you gotta hit the road. You gotta get out there and touch these people, because otherwise they gonna miss it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard to enjoy hip hop. Like if you like a rap show, forget hip hop, but a rap show, it is very difficult for people to enjoy a rap show if they don't know the words, and so you have to be very, very uber talented, and your voice has to be a certain way. Like that's why like guys like Lyric is like so dope, or people like Phenom, like it's just like, oh man, because if you don't know the words, you gotta really, really like do something to hook them in, like for them to be rocking with you the first time they see you. It's a lot of these people's first time seeing you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had a point, because if you don't know the words, you're really just standing there. And if you're not feeling connected or drawn by them or enjoying the other attributes to the performance, it's just like you just kind of, all right, well, woo, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Blah 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 blah. And that was a cool
Absolutely.
thing, like figuring out a way to teach kids, like, okay, make it different. This is how, like teaching them the gems of performance and breath support and articulation and all of this type of stuff.
Okay. Now, at this point, within the program, and you're with the Misfits, were you already thinking about kind of dipping your toe into the counselor pool? Where'd that come from?
Man, I was recruited. Like I was being honestly, that strongly came. I mean, when you work with kids, you're always counseling. Like you're always like I've had kids that got parents that are addicted to drugs. And what do you do? What do you do? And they're good parents. That's the thing that'll test your behind. What if your mama a smackhead and she's a good mama?
It happens a lot.
It happens a lot. Most people will write that person on like, nah, this is a custody. Yeah, she may be a custody, but she a good mama. You know what I'm saying? So you're always, and kids will, we're artists. So artists is soul to soul communication. So it was already in that. It was already in that. Already getting certifications and stuff like that to just strengthen me being better with working with them. But I wanted to be an artist. Like my father's a therapist, you know what I'm saying? Like, and like I didn't. My sister's a therapist. I didn't want no parts of that shit, But I had these certifications, and then and I had this experience of working with kids. And then the organization that I work for now was just like, oh man, you would be a great such and such counselor. You would be great over here. Like, come, man, you should come over here. Like, nah, I don't want to do that. Nah, I'm an artist. I was more pushing like, no, I'm an artist. Leave me the fuck alone type of demo. And then, as thought about it and thought about it, and then we get a pandemic, and them virtual shows don't pay like 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 the live shows pay. And I finally bit the bullet and was like, "Oh, you got all your credentials. Come on board." And it's like, and then you love it. You love it, and I hate the bureaucracy, which is why I didn't want to be a counselor initially, is because I hate the bureaucracy. It's like, are we here to save? Are we here to save lives? Are we here about numbers and finances and budgets? And I don't care about none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Support me, supporting them. That's all I care about. But you know, that's the business, right? That's the bureaucracy. Even in mental health, there's bureaucracy in business and all of this type of shit. And so there's that. And, you know, so that was where that kind of really, because I just never pulled the trigger on it. I was already doing it, like working with kids on breaking, like working with kids on writing their rhymes, or like how to cut these records, or doing graffiti and all of this type of stuff, and I was already doing that with young people, but this, just made it official with the when the pandemic like hit. And of course, then that's when, you know, all of the, and what I was scared was going to happen totally happened. Yes. So I guess I spoke it in existence, as the song says.
Do you believe that's the thing? Like, words have power. You can definitely speak things into existence.
Yeah.
Do you do you think that kind of spills over into interacting with children more than adults?
Um, do what, the speaking things into existence? No, I think kids probably spills over to them even harder. Well, no, let me not say that. It's more regular with them. They're manifesting these things and then they're doing them. And then with adults, it just hits them harder because they can deflect, or not realizing that they're gearing themselves up for all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think people are driven more by love or by fear?
Fear.
How do you think
Fear.
that is?
Huh?
Why do you think that is?
Um, because the consequences of fear may hurt,
Mm,
and we romanticize love. The consequences of love will hurt too, but we romanticize love, so we don't really like dwell on that shit. You know, we're more driven, we're more focused by fear. Like people, like people will get married, right? I was talking to somebody about this. People will get married and they will divorce over like some bullshit, or maybe not bullshit, over some hardship. When if you pay attention to your contract, you literally signed the contract with the state and the creator, for better or for worse, through sickness and health, rich or poor. So while
yeah.
you think about how this motherfucker make you feel, why you don't think about the worst? What is the worst that your mind can imagine?
That's a good goddamn question. That is.
Like, like if this motherfucker's arms fell off and legs fell off, and this is a stump of a motherfucker, you got to drag this motherfucker in a wagon or put this motherfucker on a giant book bag on your back. Can you still love that motherfucker? Can you do it? Can you do it? if you can,
Marry him. If you can't, don't even fuck with it.
yeah. Why don't you
So,
sign?
so since
What
since
kind
we're
of
talking
sucker
about it,
is you?
people have this thing now, right? Where it no longer serves me. This no longer serves me. This no longer serves me, right? I think it's I think there's levels to that, right? Because like you said, people get divorced for dumbass reasons all the time. Not really thinking things through, like being caught up in their emotions and the selfish side of things and not really thinking about, okay, you feel like this person is lacking in this area as it pertains to you. You're not being fulfilled, however, but maybe if they considered the other person's point of view or perspective a little bit more, or maybe they're not even vocalizing their needs effectively or at all. I had a manager one time that it was a bunch of us at the time. We're much younger. We're all single, and one of the girls was about to get married, and she asked her, being a married woman, what advice would you give me? I'm about to become somebody's wife, and she said, don't assume that your partner knows what you need, what you want, and what you're thinking. Like, you gotta set your expectation. And she was saying, like, he knows that I expect cards and stuff, on those sappy occasions or whatever. That's what I like. That's what appeals to me.
You
But
got to
you can't
spell
be
that out.
mad. Yeah, you can't be mad if he doesn't give it to you because he didn't even know you want it. But like, I think people, like, in a real way now, like, they're just expecting the person to know what they want and what they need, and then when they're not paying attention to these non-existent cues, it's like, oh, fuck you, you don't see me no more.
Right, right.
Like, well, I don't know what the fuck that's all about. But I think that fucking scenario that you painted with the um stump of a person
Yeah,
is that should be the picture that's painted. Like, for real. Like, if this person counted on you for every fucking thing they get for the rest of their life, you think you could stay there for that? Then that should be what gets you down the aisle.
man. I knew an old man, loved this dude to death. He still kick you out in Milwaukee. Man, his wife she passed on. He's an older man. His wife transitioned, and she was a freaking vegetable for like 10 years of their marriage. For 10 years, like she had a stroke and she was a vegetable. Couldn't talk, couldn't wipe herself, couldn't any of that stuff. And he would carry her everywhere. He would drive, and he's the old man himself. He was sick himself. And he would take her everywhere and just, come on, baby. And just like plop her into, the wheelchair and, push her wrong and all like, and it's just like, man, that brother is dedicated. Like he takes this vibe serious. Like people romanticize too much.
Yeah.
And that's like what, and it's not complaining, it's just about really asking yourself hard choices, hard questions, and do you have the compassion to deal with it? You have to work on, you don't have to, but it would be in your best interest to just work on acceptance, and you fight whatever you gotta fight. But it's a hard thing for me. Like, I'm always trying to find the wins. I'm always like, because I like putting puzzles together and stuff like that. That's something I really like to do. So it's like, oh man, so you got to get this piece in here, and sometimes you got to do this and got to do that. But things ain't always win-win or win or lose. Sometimes you in situations where it's lose-lose. You ain't finna win. And that's hard to accept, but you gotta learn to accept it.
Yeah. Then I'm slowly starting to understand time sometimes is the best thing, like silence and just like time to reflect, you know what I mean? Like, if it is a lose-lose situation in one of those types of relationships that can't easily go away, like you sometimes just got space, you know? Like maybe if you sit here, think about what happened, think about all the things that you feel, what you felt, what you said, and then, same thing from the other side, maybe you might find your way to a compromise, you know? But there's
Facts.
a lot of things in relationships that we don't even know that we don't know until we're in them to experience them. But you got to be open to receive that.
Yeah.
Like I know a couple that's been together since we were about like 16. They got married like pretty soon after we graduated from high school. But like, they've been through their ups and downs and dealt with shit. But every time I see them, I think to myself, I can't believe y'all motherfuckers are still together. Because most people that you see that have been together that long, they grew apart a long fucking time ago. You know what I mean? Like they just I've grown used to seeing people grow apart that been together for a while. So when you see somebody that's stood the test of time, so to speak, it's like shit, y'all like a relic. But y'all in a fucking museum, you know? It's
I
kind of sad.
mean, life is hard, you know, and especially if you're talking about relationships, like relationships are super, super difficult. I think about my grandparents and I can use them as an example because they're dead now, they transition. And like when I think about the seriousness of they were together for 66 years from 1817 to they were in their 80s, their mid 80s. And my grandmother was like they were dating, and then you know my grandfather asked her to marry him and she said yeah, they got married. And then she didn't see him for 4 years because he went to World War II.
Damn.
So
So
4 years, you
you
know,
know,
she's
she's
gotta,
gotta,
she's gotta
she's
deal with the fact that man, if he come back, what if he come back with one leg and all of this type of stuff? What she's gotta deal with that. And he's gotta deal with like, what if I get a Dear John letter? That's the letter that, wives
Mhm.
mailed to, like, yeah, I found somebody else. I'm getting this annulled and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dang. You know what I'm saying? And then, they both got to deal with infidelity. Like you might die tomorrow. Some Nazi might kill you. So you might want to like mess with this French girl. And this World War II, your black ass don't know what white girls is like. Shit. It's like, when you gonna experience that? We segregated. We got to live separate. It's segregation. And then she's like, Psh, I gotta be, I gotta be without for 4 years. They gotta forgive any infidelity. I mean, they don't got to, but like it's like it seems petty concern when you think about the stakes. And I know there would be women that would be like, oh, or men even. They'd be like, nah, man, you tripping. It's like, yo, like someone made a mistake or made a mistake-ish. Because I ain't never been in no like situation away from my country, and I'm fighting to the death for, like any of that stuff. And I'm around these people. My grandfather told me a terrible, terrible, because these people ain't never seen black people before. This is a funny joke, but it's terrible. My grandfather used to always tell me these terrible jokes that he thought was funny as shit. They were really terrible. It was like they never saw Nick. They never saw black people before. They thought we had tails. They always thought we had tails. All these French women would ask me, "Can I see your tail?" I'm like, what is she talking about my tail? It's like, oh, you think I'm a monkey? You know, make you want to tuck your thing between your legs and be like, "It's my tail right here." Or our tails is in the front. You know, that's what
That's
you.
crazy.
But this is the reality. This is their reality. They got to joke about this terrible, repugnant shit. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'll be like, oh, offensively speaking, and all of this type of stuff. Signifying is what kept our people. I can't speak for everybody else. I don't know what the Latinos had to do, but for black folks, signifying is what kept us strong since we've been in the hells of North America.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I can't speak what the Asians or the Latinos got to do. Love to the ones that learn from us. But us swallowing spit and talking shit is kind of what kept us emotionally strong.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I learned that from my grandfather, and I learned about like, dang, y'all went through that. Y'all went through that.
Yeah.
You went through that. 4 years. And then he come back. He done seen combat. He done been shot, done drove over landmines. And my grandfather drove the med truck. He done, picking up dead bodies, injured people, all of this type of stuff. And then you got to do that and come back to the U.S. in segregation, and then with no job and a wife.
Mm-hmm. And you gotta fit yourself in the fold of whatever she had going on for the last 4 years. Yeah.
And and then she gotta deal with you. My grandmother used to she's like, he's there. I was like, who is this dude? This dude is crazy. Cause he a different person. It be motherfuckers that, be together for 10 years and then learn each other.
Yeah.
Like learn something new about this. You've been away from this person for 4 years, and you gotta rely on snail mail across the over the pond.
Yeah. But then even so, you're reluctant to even get anything because you never know if it's coming from your husband or if it's coming from the government, with the news that you don't want to read,
Yeah. So like if it makes you feel like dang, like we tripping off of infidelity, huh?
Mm.
Yeah, that's kind
Well,
of
so all on both sides of my family, all my grandparents have passed on, but the commonality on both sides was they stayed together, for the duration of their lives. The marriage only ended when one passed away before the other, But one of the questions that I was going to ask you was, what role does forgiveness play in maintaining healthy relationships? And healthy is the strongest part in the question because with my grandparents, neither one of them slept in the same room. So from when we were very little, we saw this. But when you're a little kid, you don't think about that kind of stuff. Right. Oh, okay.
Same.
So like the way they interacted in their relationships, like they got along enough to be able to, live in the same house or whatever, just kind of tolerate each other or whatever, but they had their own space. And then, now that I'm an adult and I think about that, the concept of having your own space in that kind of way, like I'm guessing that's what allowed them to coexist. You know what I'm saying? With whatever was in the space between them. I don't know what they dealt with in their relationship early on, if they did or didn't forgive each other or whatever. But from your perspective, what do you think about that? and the role forgiveness plays?
I think forgiveness plays a huge point, and it's the difference between being a sucker and being forgiving. You know what I'm saying? I'm not advocating people to stay in abusive situations just because you signed the contract, but you did sign the contract, so you you better be mindful of who you signing the contract with. You know, like for real, for real. Um, but to your question, yeah, forgiveness is huge, because you're gonna hurt the one you love. You don't know, but if accountability, you're responsible for your actions, whether intended or unintended. You know what I'm saying? That's what accountability is, and so if you're, you know like, yeah, if it's that, it's that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and for them, like, they're living in separate, well, not living. That's no. We again, superficialities. We're associating that as if they're not happy because we can't imagine, you know, like, our significant other having a room that's separate from what you scared of. You think it's like, "Oh, text you, text, text, this one while your ass is in the room. Just text you out." And like, come on, y'all. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit is that shit is, you know, that shit is like sophomoric and immature in my standpoint. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause there's terrible people, like that's your own insecurities. That's our insecurities that is like projecting it. Even if they were to step out and creep, you know what I'm saying? It's different if they're like, even if they're gamblers, or if they're users and all of this type of stuff. Like, these are the things we got to deal with, because your contract said for better or for worse. You know what I'm saying? So you got to think about the worst. You got to, like, check in. But also, people might need space. At some point, you like, man, I'm sick of looking at this motherfucker. Like, I want to sleep by myself. I want to be comfortable and all this type of stuff. You know, you get older and it's like, man, like, I'm farting in bed with you and all of this. Like, this is a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, there has to be a level of maturity that goes into that, you know, and understanding, like, you know. So, like, no, I think people, you definitely need like you definitely need that stuff, and and people need their own space.
Yeah.
Right. And I say people because I ain't being gender suspicious, specific. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you got it like that, man, that brother needs a man cave. Fuck what you heard. He needs a man cave. And that woman needs a she shed. You know what I'm saying? Like, facts.
You think at any point in life you would, like, let's say you're able to, you have the credentials, you maybe you do now, I don't know. You think you would try your hand at being a marriage counselor? I could see you telling the couple involved, the real, like, making them think about shit that really actually matters.
Oh man, I don't want to say no, and then I'll be like, and then something happens, and I'll be thrusted into doing it and all that stuff. Um, I don't feel that I don't feel like I'm not comfortable with that level of responsibility at this point. Um, and the hardest thing in counseling now is is uh is just You know, that's why I like working with young people, because at least they get some grace from the
Mm.
world, some grace from the world, like not much, but it's hard to get by people's egos. Like even the conversation we just had, like especially women get it the worst. Like older women get it the worst. You like because people belittle them for staying. Like they belittle older women for seeing something more important and for staying and fight. Like for like yo, this is better. It's better for us to be here together, even if I'm staying in the marriage for the kids. That's better than like us being separate. Like women get it the worst. Men get it like lax. Like, sometimes you gotta leave the bitch alone. Like it's a weird, like women get it the worst for staying, and men like get get too much grace for leaving, when it's always a balance. There's a balance in that stuff. Like, nah, bro, you need to fight. Oh fuck, oh, she cheated on you. Okay, she tried to find some happiness without hurting your feelings. She tried to find some happiness without hurting your punk ass feelings. Toughen up and fight it through it. You know, toughen up and fight through it. You know,
Yeah.
like check your ego. And it's hard, easier said than done, but like, and women are kind of equal on that like front too these days, where it's just like, he did this, he did that, he spent he tricked off the money doing some stupid shit. All right, like you be in charge of the finances, then you more responsible than him. Let the best knower of something be his teacher. you know Like, oh no, man, she was bugging out. I'm feeling like, oh man, you gonna leave her because she did this? Oh, you gonna leave her because she got an eating disorder? That shit sound mad superficial. No,
Yeah.
man, her breath stink, man. She be making herself throw up to keep herself thin. Well, give her some Tic Tacs and shut the fuck up. You soft motherfucker. Like, man, like we giving up that easy? We gonna
Yeah.
give up that easy?
Then
Like your
people,
people, you like, man, y'all still together. You don't know what they done been through.
yeah. And then
Like
people
life
put their
is
trust,
hard.
like you put your relationship in other people's hands too by going to random ass people for advice also. Like you're married and you're dealing with what you're dealing with and you going to your single friends for advice. It's like, how the fuck can they give you advice on a marriage when they never been in one? You know what I'm saying? Or like they'll speak to the issue from the perspective of them being your friend, right? So I think their ego plays more in whatever advice they give you than actually properly advising you on the situation.
Yeah, yo. I got a friend that's getting married, and you know, he got a good job, but his fiance has assets. And she asked him about a prenup. She wanted him to sign a prenup. And, you know, he asked me, what do I think about it? And I was like, oof, that's tough. You know what I'm saying? That is tough. Um, and I, really like calm myself, check my own ego about it. And I was like, you know what? I want y'all to win. I want y'all to win. Take my bias for what it is, because I try to win, and sometimes it's lose lose. But like how long y'all been dating? Will be 2 years. So y'all been dating less than 2 years, and y'all about to get married. Okay. I can respect why she wants a prenup. Like, 'cause she has a condo and a car. You just have a good ass job. She has an asset. Man, sign it. However, put a timestamp on that. Look, what you mean? Like, prenups ain't in perpetuity. What? They not, if you, unless you put it in that prenuptial that is in perpetuity, it's in perpetuity. But you don't got put a 2 years time snap on the prenup. Like, or put in, like, you think about all provisions and you be selfish about that, because this is a selfish like thing. This is in the business of you. My recommendation is put a 2 year stamp on that. This shit is null and void after 2 years. Because after 2 years, you can't put a price tag on what you've done for that condo or any of that type of stuff for y'all wares, and we don't know what assets you might acquire. She might help you acquire. You may help her get a better car and all of this type of stuff. Y'all may get matching cars or something. We don't know what's going to happen in 2 years, but because you don't know her like that, yeah, that's right. But if 2 years, if this ain't a fluke, which it shouldn't be, I'm hoping that it's not, then cool. Sign it. Like, sign it. Y'all been dating less than 2 years and y'all already engaged. Respect. But you're doing it for love. Now you gotta, and she wants to protect her business, but your business is definitely gonna be null and void after 2 years. I mean, it's null and void when y'all get married, but she want to make sure that you know, you ain't using her, or you ain't gonna cut and run. So just make sure that shit ain't in perpetuity, but sign it, man. If you love her, you can trust her. If you feel like you can love her and you can trust her, go for it. But just make sure you put a time stamp on that. This prenuptial is null and void, and like, after 2 years. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's good advice. That's why I think I see that in the future for you.
Don't speak that on me, Nash.
In between Misfits business. I'm just saying.
Oh my God.
Um, if you could change one thing about human nature, what would it be?
I don't know if, man, everybody's nature is so different. I don't know what I could change. One thing about, man, that's difficult, because I deal with so many people that got so many different natures that, like, I don't know. I don't know if there's a universal human nature. Like, the lovers got this, and the healers got this. The healed got this way. The people who are like dirt bags with heart of golds have this way. Like, because those people that, man, you a dirt bag, but you got a heart of gold. you
Know a few of those.
That's why a lot of people be mad. That's when people be like, "No, I got to get out of this relationship because you don't linked up with a dirt bag that got a heart of gold." You know what I'm saying?
That
But
is a
that's more
real
on you
thing.
than them. That's more than you than them. But, like, man, I guess I wouldn't change nothing about human nature. I think maybe our curiosity, I guess. I don't know if I would do that. I don't think I would change nothing about human nature. I think the problem with human nature is the variables.
Mm.
Like, the variables present certain things, and, like, I hate, I, like, I hate when people I don't like when people be like, man, like when people justify like slave labor or or indentured servitude, like with migrant workers or immigrants, is like, man, we're gonna do this because wouldn't none of us be doing that? Really, really, we did it before. You know what I'm saying? What you mean we wouldn't do that? These people, all these people that need a job, you think they wouldn't pick no no fruits if you was paying them properly? You think the
Yeah.
ones that are accustomed to like United States living is like gonna go back and do that? Because it
Right.
only take like one or two generations to like get away from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
That's even with us.
when Sesame Street started, you know how they would like, explain to kids like what jobs are. So you had like a grocer, you had somebody working at the flower shop, somebody sold newspaper, whatever. Like normal everyday jobs were fine. That was the person's career. Like now there's menial jobs, and then careers in corporate America and shit like that.
Yeah, this job is for unskilled labor. This job is for, this. And it's crazy. Like I'm blessed to where I have three. I have three jobs. How I do it, I don't know how, but I got three jobs. And, one is like, oh, it's a licensed counselor. The other job is, oh, you are a part-time security supervisor. And the other job is, dang, you a rapper. You know what I'm saying? So I get to literally experience how people treat you on different levels. And each time people treat you differently.
Mm.
People treat you differently. I'm like, dang, this is what y'all do to unskilled. Like people be like, why you still working in loss prevention? You don't even be there that often. Yeah, but I need to see. I need the experience. Like I just like the experience of like, man, this is how we do people. This is how we do these people. That's fucked up. Oh, y'all
So
treating me better because I'm this? Oh man, that's fucked up. You superficial. Some bullshit.
that's the nature of the world now. Shit. We pretty much reached our time. I got one final question.
You got it.
What's the most profound thing that you learned about yourself through introspection?
Um, Most profound thing that I've learned about myself through introspection. I I need to I need help finding my blind spots.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Like when I'm like, when I'm I'm very self-aware. I'm a very self-aware person. I'm not perfect by any means, but I'm very self-aware. So like I've personally been through like two or three, I should say three like therapists, and it's hard for like people to give me therapy, because I'm very self-aware, and I'm assuming that most people that go through therapy, I can't speak for the statistics, but I'm assuming that most people that go through therapy are not always open, or like they're maybe combative to their own whatever, but I'm not really combative. I'm self-aware, and that said, it'll be hard for me. It's hard for people to like help me out because like, oh well, you don't really need, kind of like people will hit you with that shit like, oh, you don't really need therapy. Fuck out of here. Like Like you got to help me, like find, like I have these demons that I feel like in here, like help me. Like I'm aware of where they are, what they are. I'm aware of how they came about, and I'm aware of what will trigger them to flare up, for lack of a better term. But I need to be aware of blind spots, and you got to help me to find these blind spots. Again, I'm not a perfect person, and that's difficult, and it's difficult for people to like help their, not that it's worse or anything like that, but it's harder for people to like help people who are very self-aware, because we're just trying to figure out our blind spots. And we ask a lot of questions, and we're very self-aware, and like I'm always like, oh snap, oh god, thank you for that, and you don't always know. So that would be the thing, just like searching and being aware of my blind spots and getting help for my blind spots.
I'm not mad at that. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with me. You definitely were one of the people that I wanted to interview and talk to. You always got some funny shit to say, and you're very insightful. So I definitely appreciate you for coming through. You want to tell the people how they can get in contact with you, what you got going on?
Microphonemisfits.com. Just check out the microphonemisfits.com. That's THEMICROPHONEMISFITC. The Microphone Misfits. Who else could it be? Did I spell microphone right? THEMI. Yeah, I did. Right. I get confused sometimes. It's been a long night. No. But yeah,
But
we
thank
definitely check out Escape from Babylon Volume 6. We we will be, if you're in Iowa, because I know this show goes everywhere. If you're in Des Moines, Iowa, May 2nd through the 4th, you will see us all there. Myself, D-NIK, the Microphone Misfit, Ray of Light, Defects, Ken Solo, T-Rex the Beast. We will all be at DemiCon. We are guests of honor at DemiCon. So definitely
up.
check us out. And if you're like looking to book us, and you got a budget, hit up Neon Entertainment. If you don't have a budget, try to catch one of us on the individual tip and talk us into it. All right.
Okay. All right. Well, those of you watching, thank you for tuning in. If you are watching from Facebook, get your ass across the street. Check us out on YouTube, please. If it's your first time tuning in, please subscribe, like, and share. Thank you so much for coming back again. In the words of Avon Barksdale, keep it light, but keep it.
Bless. Thank you so much.
Thank you, D-NIK.